and welcome to Open Line. I'm Starlene Stringer. The Irving Heritage Society is an active group that is in the middle of a big year of events celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Heritage House. On this program, we're going to learn about some of the special events and the organization as a whole. Viewers were invited to submit questions via email, Facebook, and Twitter, and we'll be getting those answered throughout the show. Our guests are Heritage Society President-elect Chris Wallace, Public Relations Chair and Charter Member Mary Higbie, and Co-Chair of the Heritage House 100th Anniversary, Mary Oberlin. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Well, we're going to start with the basics. The first things first, for those who are not familiar with it at all, we're going to start with that, Chris. Let's just get the basics. What is the Irving Heritage Society?
Absolutely. I like to say that the Heritage Society is the keeper of Irving's history. They are the true ambassadors of our history. It is made up of approximately 300 households throughout our great city. We have a lot to be proud of in Irving. Bloomberg Business Week just named Irving a top 50 place in which to live throughout the entire nation.
Wow.
And it's our rich history that the Heritage Society represents that really got us to this point. And it's our rich history that's going to carry us forward as we continue to grow our city as well. So it is a who's who of Irving leaders, and I'm very proud to be their new president-elect, and truly is a great list of leaders that are carrying us forward for our great city.
Wonderful. And speaking of those leaders, Mary, as a charter member, and that would be Mary Higbie since we have two Marys this evening, tell us about the history of the organization.
Well, first of all, let me tell you that the Heritage House was the home of C.P. Schultz family, and it was given to the city in 1975. And so the Heritage Society was formed very shortly after that as Chris says, the keeper of the history, and to maintain the Heritage House with the contents belong to the Heritage Society, the beautiful antiques and such. So we are an organization that is proud of our heritage. We have been involved in a number of projects within the city, both that are our own identification as well as some that are part of the city as well. Wonderful.
And Mary Oberlin, why did you get involved with the Heritage Society?
That may be a long story.
We've got a little time.
Anybody who would know Estelle Bates. Estelle, you would not say no to Estelle Bates. Anybody who's lived in Irving years ago, because the Bates now are no longer here. They're the parents of Dr. Bates that used to practice medicine here. But Estelle was very involved, very interested in the history of Irving. And have always volunteered a great deal, and she thought I could do this. So it was the busiest year I think I ever had. I really served a year and a half because by the time she got in and then we did the Constitution and bylaws, it was time to take over, and that would just be a half year, and then I served the second year. So it was a busy time.
Definitely sounds like it.
It's been a fun journey, really, because as these people have said, we want to preserve the history of Irving, and that's what we've been trying to do.
Wonderful. And Chris, same question for you. Why did you get involved with the Heritage Society?
Absolutely. In my role at the Chamber of Commerce, I feel that it's important that the businesses also appreciate the rich history of our city. And we are going to work very hard to bring more small, mid-sized, large businesses into the Irving Heritage Society during my term to make sure that they understand that Irving is a very significant place, and it is such a significant place because of our rich history. Matter of fact, mid-March, we hosted, as part of the 100th anniversary celebration, a reception recognizing the 20 oldest businesses in our city. Had a great turnout. It was at a private home. And it really was a great symbol that evening that we have many small businesses 50 to 75 years old. Some of our oldest businesses are just over 100 years old that have been in Irving all of that entire time. And so it is important that not just the residents but businesses get involved in the rich history of Irving as well.
Good point. How many people are actually in the group?
In the society itself,
right, exactly.
We have about 300 households as members.
Okay.
Many of them have been engaged over the years. Many are still engaged with the society, in whether it be a form of a committee or an officer role.
Wonderful. And our next question is for Mary Higbie. We just know that your group just wrapped up a series of special series, that is, of events called Celebrating Irving, the City and the Men. Give us some of the highlights about that special event.
Well, when Washington Irving turned 225 years ago, 5 years ago, yes, 5 years ago, we decided to recognize his birthday. And we had done things in the past, like the Bracebridge Dinner and some other events around his name and his honor. And so this has been ongoing, and probably the most identifiable part of Celebrating Irving is the Irving Trivia. And those areas of the city that have or other organizations, they form teams, or businesses. The chamber had a team.
Yeah.
They were determined to win. Unfortunately, they didn't. Sorry, Chris. But our most recent winner was the Henry Holmes Breakfast Forum Jim Bullock team. And the teams compete with questions on Washington Irving, the city of Irving, both the history and the current events. So it gets to be fun. 2 years ago, we added a feature called Honoring Irving's Women of Irving's History. And last year we recognized Netta Barkus Brown, who was the wife of the co-founder, Otis Brown. This year we honored Esther Hurwitz, who founded a library in 1941 until 1962, before the city had an official library. And next year we'll be honoring Jackie Townsell, a very beloved community leader, a member of our city council and such.
Wonderful. So you're doing a lot of great things. I know you mentioned that you're specifically proud of one of the events you were teasing him just about, the trivia contest. How did that get started?
Well, we just thought it would be a fun, creative way for people to learn. They would have to do a little bit of study or have some awareness of some of the things that were happening, or the history of Irving, or of Washington Irving, the man. He was very accomplished. He served in an ambassador role to Spain and to England. He was very respected in the East by a number of political leaders and other authors, other writers. And so he's a wonderful person to honor and to learn more about.
Wonderful. And, you know, she was teasing you just a minute ago about how the chamber was really, really wanting to win. How did you prepare for that, the team? How did y'all prepare for that competition?
You know, the team, there are, believe it or not, many study materials. We've got Joe Rice's book. We've got Norma Stanton's book that she did back in 2003 to celebrate Irving's centennial. There are many books. Of course, there's a lot of information on the city's website, the CVB's website, our website, the Chamber of Commerce, about Irving's history. And so it really is, I told the group during the finals competition last weekend that it really is a fun time to have a friendly competition, but you really do learn a lot about Irving's history. And the groups get together many, many weeks prior to have study sessions.
Nice.
And so it's great questions that are asked about Irving's history.
Sounds like it. So overall, how did the competition go this year, Mary?
It went very well. I had prepared 30 tiebreakers because it seems like these teams are getting better and better every year. The ICVB won last year. Actually, the Chamber won the very first year, and then Entertainment Series of Irving, and then ICVB won for 2 years straight, and then this year the Henry Holmes Group. But I had prepared 30 tiebreakers. They used 22 of them.
Oh, wow. Wow. So it's very competitive.
They were not going to give up easily.
Very competitive, but lots of fun. We're going to come back to the trivia part just a little bit later. But now I want to switch to Mary Oberlin. And Mary, we mentioned before that it is the 100th anniversary of the Heritage House. So give us the story of the house.
I can't do that.
What? You can't tell us the story about it?
Probably not.
Maybe I can help her.
I think Mary knows more about the history than I do.
Well,
Remember,
sure.
It's been a
we
long
can help
time
each other
since
out
I've
around
been
here.
involved. But I do know it was built in 1912 by Fred Joffrey. Am I right, Mary?
Yes.
And the house was, you know, the Schultz family lived in that house all those years. And in 1975, they donated it to the city as a home museum, as a historic home museum. And I can tell you all years and years and years of parties, teas, bridal parties, people being married there, you know, and we've carried that on. We haven't done much of that recently, but for years after it was given to us, we had committees that cooked all the time, and that's the reason we had a cookbook and a tea book, because and we sell them. It makes a little money for the society, sure. But it's been a busy place.
I knew you could answer that question for us, and I know that you can add to that as well.
Well, I can. You know, Irving was founded by two men, Otis Brown and J.O. Schultz. J.O. Schultz and his wife had a child. Irving was founded in 1903, and they had a young child that became very ill, and so they left the city, and he sold the family business to his brother, C.P. Schultz. And C.P. Schultz, as Mary said, is the person who built what we now call the Heritage House, and Fred Joffrey was the architect. So Mr. and Mrs. C.P. Schultz really became the leaders, both civic and social leaders in Irving. And, you know, we can only imagine, and we've heard of many, many activities and events that they hosted there.
Sure.
And it was on a street called Iowa Street. A little trivia for you. Iowa Street became O'Connor. But it was first called Iowa because J.O. Schultz was from the state of Iowa.
Huh. So now we got something else they may use next year in that
That's
trivia
right.
contest.
That's
You
right.
never know. Chris, what are some of the events that have been held so far to mark the anniversary?
Sure, sure. First part of December, we kicked off the actual a month prior to this year. So December the 4th, we actually kicked it off with a wonderful celebration at the house itself. State Representatives Linda Harper Brown and Rodney Anderson were there with state proclamations to make it known that 2012 was the upcoming year, which is this year, of course, of the 100th anniversary of this house. It's a true symbol of Irving's history. December the 8th, we were at the City Council meeting. We had a mayoral proclamation from Mayor Van Dunn and the entire City Council to recognize the significance of this house. And then we partnered with the Chamber, the Heritage Society and the Chamber, to release a Neighbors Go edition, special edition, in the Dallas Morning News that was a spotlight on 100 years in Irving, but with significant focus on the house as well as the oldest businesses in our city. The annual State of the City address at the end of January took on a special theme. And we unveiled a new video produced right here at ICTN, which was an awesome video about 100 years of the house with wonderful interviews from many of Irving's stakeholders throughout the year. So, and of course I mentioned the business reception, recognizing the top or the oldest businesses within our city. That was middle of March. And then first part of October, we're going to do the same thing for civic groups. So the oldest civic groups within our city, of the top 20 oldest, we're going to recognize them as well, because they contribute as well to the history and to the future growth of our city.
Wonderful. So a whole lot going on to celebrate this 100th anniversary. And I want to talk to you, Mary, about what's coming up in the future. You have a school program too, right?
We had a school program, and it's Schultz School, and those kids have drawn these beautiful houses, the Heritage House, and they've done a fantastic job of, in their own words, writing what they think the history is and what the Heritage House looks like. So these were, what, second and third graders?
I think they may have been about fourth grade.
Fourth grade, anyway. Mm-hmm. But they did a great job. They really have done a great job with that, yes.
Wonderful. And Mary Higbie, can people visit the house?
Yes, the house is open for public tours on the first Sunday of the month, March through and including December. And so the upcoming one will be on June 3rd, and it's open from 3 to 5 p.m. Now, if someone has an organization that they'd like to bring a group of people, we certainly are happy to open it for public tours as a special appointment, but we do need a little bit of advance notice. And of course it's open for like the vintage Valentine tea, and we had an ice cream social recently.
Fun.
And so there are other events that take place there that the public's always invited.
Well, wonderful. For those who aren't familiar with where it is, tell us where it's located.
Well, it's 303 South O'Connor, that used to be called Iowa Street.
I got to keep that in my mind, Iowa Street. So it's very convenient, easy to find right here in Irving.
It's not far from Irving Boulevard and O'Connor.
Wonderful. And Chris, what do you hope people actually get out of visiting when they go by?
Have pride in Irving. It truly is a great place to live, work, and play. And that house is a symbol of the rich history that Irving has over 100 years. And it's that many, many years that has built our foundation of what we are today and what we're going to be many, many years to come. And so we encourage children, adults who live and work in Irving to go by there, to tour the house, to visit. Wonderful tour in terms of museum, as Mary mentioned, but for the most part we want them to be prideful in terms of where they live.
That's definitely a good thing.
These people would not know anything about an iron that you would put on charcoal to heat it up.
Right.
To iron. And we have that, and several other things we have.
Well, tell us about some of the furnishings.
Well, one of the things is the crank telephone, you know, that you were on a party line.
Up, right. And talk.
And there's, sitting right below the telephone is an old tricycle that was found out in what they call Mary's Playhouse. It was really a chicken coop. That was
Mary Schultz.
Yes, Mary Schultz, and the daughter of the family. Right. And so they converted it into a little playhouse, and we found a number of toys and blocks and wooden things out there.
Is there no well in the back?
There is.
No well in the back?
There are 3 wells. It was built with 3 wells, and the house was built with a basement, which was quite unusual for this area. But because the Schultz family had come from Iowa, both J.O. and C.P., that was a very common thing for them to have, so it was built with the basement.
Very nice. Interesting indeed. Now, you just mentioned a chicken coop, but speaking on food, I know we just recently covered a fish fry there. Tell me about that.
Well, the fish fry was actually held at Heritage Park, and it has been done for a number of years. Marvin Randall was a wonderful chef in preparing that with the help of some of his family and friends, and huge attendance. Absolutely. It was the largest we've ever had.
Nice.
And we had fun. We had a cake sale, and that got to be very competitive.
We kind of, because it is 100th birthday, we kind of thought, let's do birthday cakes, but it didn't say birthday. But we had about 20 cakes, and it made a real interesting event, for people were really bidding on those cakes and fighting over 1 or 2 of them.
Yes, there are a lot of things that we have done that are in increments of 100. For instance, in the Celebrating Irving, we asked for the 10 best things about Irving that people could submit, and then from that we're making a list of 100. Well, obviously we have more than 100 entries, so now we have to kind of pare it down, because some people sent in similar things. So from the 10 best things, we will have a list of 100 that we will release soon.
I wrote my 10 best things, and it really makes you think how great the city of Irving is. When you think about it, you could have probably written many more, but you were trying to think of the 10 best things, and it makes you think about how great we are.
And Starlene, do you know what one of the most common answers was?
What's that?
The people.
Oh, I love it. That's definitely a good thing. And speaking of the people, Chris, let me ask you this. Are there a lot of social opportunities for members?
There are. We have an annual Valentine tea, of course the fish fry, as was discussed. There are many activities that citizens can take advantage of, and we encourage them to come tour the house. We encourage them to be involved with the Irving Heritage Society. Not only does it reflect on the rich history, but it also is moving us toward the future as well.
Good. And Mary, if somebody wants to get involved, how do they go about doing so?
Well, they can go to our website, which is simply irvingheritage.com, or they may call 972-252-3838. We present 4 programs a year, and this year they've been just some extraordinary ones. And we've had a couple of authors recently that have been there. Susan Hyde, who was an Irving resident, has written a book, and she was one of our speakers in March. And then Dr. Cindy Lovell from the Mark Twain Museum and Home in Hannibal, Missouri was our October program. So we invite people, and they're always open to the public and without charge.
Definitely a good thing. And then Chris, with you being in touch with the business community, which is so important, do you find that people considering locating here are really appreciative of having a city that has so much rich history?
No doubt, no doubt. And that's you know, Irving has many assets, and I always like to say, where else can you go? A city of roughly 215,000 people that has one of the county's only still drugstore soda fountains, a house that is a functioning museum. We're going to get it on the National Registry this year and next year, first in Irving. And couple that with a wonderful master planning community in the top Fortune 500 company in the entire world, and in between, all next to the third busiest airport in the world. So you have all of that right here within 67 square miles of Irving. And so it's the rich history that brought us here and that will carry us forward.
I love it. And I'm going to ask you all three the same question, and we'll start with Chris. Looking ahead, what are your hopes for the organization in the future?
We're going to continue to embrace the history, but use that leverage and the leadership that we have in place with the organization to look at where we're going in the future. And we're going to branch out as well, not just with the house, but look at different parts of the entire community and the history of our neighborhoods, the history of the Valley Ranch community, the history of the Las Colinas development, the history of the rich neighborhoods right here around the studio, and embrace that history.
Wonderful. And Mary Higbie, same question for you. What are your hopes?
Well, it's sort of hard to put into words. You know, one of the things I think has been wonderful about the Heritage Society is the variety, the different people that have been involved with it. I mean, Mary Oberlin was one of the first people that I met with that organization, and has...
She was the second president
she
of
was.
The organization.
Wow. And it has brought such the diversity of people and their interest in their background and their experiences. And Mary Oberlin, or Mary, there are a lot of Marys here. Mary Mormon, who is our current president, who couldn't be here this evening, she will tell you it has been a very, very busy year. And as we branch out to newer members and new interests and new ideas, sure. We have a thing that we call thinking outside of the box, you know, and then we have quite a list on there, and hopefully we're going to embrace some of those ideas. So I look for expanding our membership and our activities.
I love it. And Mary Oberlin, what are your hopes for the future of the organization?
I have not been involved for a great number of years because I'm retired. But so I was shocked when they asked me to share this with Chris at my age. But anyway, it's been a great, great experience, and I'm so glad that you brought me back into the fold. But I soon found out that if we're going to celebrate the 100-year Heritage House, we're going to celebrate that house. And I kept saying, no, everything else has been growing old while this house has been growing old. So we need to include lots of things. So that's pretty much how we got involved with the businesses and the organizations, because everything has been aging for 100 years while it's aging, and we will continue to age.
Right. And
we mustn't forget that, because we're making history every day. But the people are, the volunteers who work at this house are so dedicated.
Definitely a good thing. And you know, I said we were going to go back to the trivia, and I want to go back to that trivia, Mary. Give me an idea, like one example or a sample of one of the questions that you asked.
Oh dear. Well, one of the questions that did trip people up was, what was the year that Irving was incorporated? Usually the questions are multiple choice, and so that if you don't know the answer, at least you can take a shot at it. But on the tiebreakers, you have to get challenging.
Sure. So let me ask you this, how do you find the answers for all these questions?
Well, I read the same books that the team, you know, but it was
Smart.
April 14 in 1914, and Otis Brown was that first mayor. And I think they had 3 commissioners on the, if they call it council or the commission.
Is that in both of the history books?
I think it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Well, Mary, I'm glad you spoke up, because I want to know, what else should we know about the Heritage Society?
My, let me think. I can tell you, when I was president, the Haley House was on a parking lot in the city of Irving off of Beltline Road. You all may not remember this. I do, because we had no money to start with, and the family wanted us to save this house, but it was in terrible disrepair. And the unfortunate thing about it, we never saved it. I was working with the park department at that time to move it to one of our parks. We were going to, in my head, we were going to try to make it really a nice place and get volunteers involved and renovate it and, you know, make it another house.
Right.
But the vandals got in it, and they were sleeping in it because there was no way to lock it up. And ultimately, they set it afire. So, but that was a busy time trying to do something with that house. And so, I don't know, what was your question? I think I got off of it.
That's okay. I was asking you if there was something else we should know about the Heritage Society, and you were telling us some fascinating information. Okay. So that was great. That was great. Chris, is there anything else that you'd like to add before we run out of time about the Heritage Society?
I would encourage citizens to tour the home. It truly is an impressive museum. And like I said, it's a rich symbol of our history, but to use that symbol to help us move Irving forward. We have to preserve and embrace the past, but to use the rich lessons that we've learned for many, many years and how we're going to move forward.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here this evening. We appreciate your time and all the information you've shared.
We'll see you at the Heritage House.
Exactly. And thank you for watching. I'm Starlene Stringer. Be sure to join us live on Wednesday, June 6th at 7 p.m. for our next edition of Open Line. We will be covering the opening of the DART Orange Line. Now, if you have questions, email them to ictn@cityofirving.org or connect with us on Facebook, and we'll get answers on our next edition of Open Line. We'll see you then.